Let's now take you back to our top story about India's cashless digital payment system UPI being launched on Monday in Sri Lanka and Mauritius. It's already in use not only in neighboring countries like Nepal and Bhutan, but also in France, UAE, Singapore, among others. Let's talk about the significance of this development with our expert guest. Joining us this evening is Professor Sachin Chaturvedi, DG, RIS for developing countries and an eminent economist. Good evening to you, Dr. Chaturvedi. What do you make of this development and the way that the UPI has been expanding? Just let us know your thoughts on that as well. The UPI has been expanding abroad in foreign shores.
Thank you. Thanks, Gautam. I think that's a very important development that has happened today. It's a milestone in terms of our international expansion and the new footprints that the digital transaction expertise that India has accumulated here domestically now is getting extended. Both Sri Lanka and Mauritius are our maritime neighbors. They are extremely important partners in terms of not only the Indian diaspora that is based in both the countries, but also in terms of trade transactions, tourism, that sector which has multiplied over the years, both with Mauritius and now increasingly with Sri Lanka. And we also find India as an investor in both the countries. So you find that trade, investment and tourism, all three have multiplied in Sri Lanka and in Mauritius. With Mauritius, we also signed last time the free trade agreement, and with Sri Lanka, the not exactly free trade agreement, but India-Sri Lanka economic partnership vision document that was signed. So both the countries have seen a closer economic partnership. Digitalization has added further impetus to it. But Gautam, if I take a step back and see of late, right from 2014 onward, in last 10 years, Prime Minister has, whether it is EU or Africa or other countries, including our neighborhood in the Indo-Pacific, you find greater emphasis on connectivity, and connectivity which brings in digital, which brings in fintech, which brings in air connectivity, maritime connectivity. So all different facets of connectivity are getting explored. Digital today with the RuPay card would add further strength to our bilateral partnerships.
Yes, certainly. RuPay coming into play where Mauritius is concerned as well. But then if you look at how UPI has been expanding, to what extent do you think it can go in enhancing India's reach among these countries and the ways in which all ways can it benefit not just India, but people in those countries as well?
Yeah, no, certainly, because as you might have already seen, a large number of people visit from Mauritius and from Sri Lanka to India for various purposes. From Mauritius for religious purposes, some of them even for health purposes. From Sri Lanka, a large number of people come for health, treatment, and even visiting different shrines here. They all require digital transactions. As of now, they pay cash or they look for currency conversions, etc. This would lessen burden to such an extent that people just even can't imagine. If you see last year from Mauritius, we had around 13,000 tourists coming to India. From Sri Lanka, much larger number of people come and go every month. The quantums are huge. So you can imagine how simpler it would be, even for our own tourists who visit Sri Lanka. 75,000 people visited from India in last 1 year to Sri Lanka after the crisis is over. So you find more and more traction coming in, and digitalization would ease that life. People can spend at ease, people can enjoy tourism and make the digital transactions. Because back home in India, people are using it at multiple levels, even for smallest transactions. So what we are seeing now domestically is getting extended and extrapolated to other markets as well.
Certainly. And if this is extended to remittances, India gets the largest amount of remittances. It's valued at $125 billion in 2023. So scope there itself is massive, isn't it?
Yeah, no, certainly, because if you see with the UAE, where we have a huge source coming in, We already signed the free trade agreement, which for the first time included data and data exclusivity. With Singapore, we have already signed the Reserve Bank of India and Monetary Authority of Singapore. They have signed. So as you just mentioned in the beginning, with 7 partners we already have, and many more are in the pipeline. Today, when Finance Minister met all of us at the Reserve Bank of India, the issue came up in terms of how RBI's proactive efforts have taken the digital footprints forward with NPCI and others. So I think the continued encouragement to digital transactions back home by the Prime Minister, it has created an ecosystem all across where now more and more entities are getting linked with these new transactions.
And this will take the agenda forward on de-dollarization as well of our transactions with others which are not with the US.
Gautam, there are 2 things which are important here. One, as government's efforts for digital currency, which Finance Minister announced last year at Pilot, they have now ratified. We are all set to go in a large way for CBDC. Chinese have already made that effort. So a large number of countries, particularly emerging markets, have shown the pragmatism for digital currency, digital transactions. US and EU both have yet to take a position in terms of digital currency or the quantum that we are doing with digital transactions to be matched. So from that point of view, de-dollarization is certainly going to be the reality, but only time would assess as to which currency would prevail. Important here is to see that we evolve global norms for digital transactions. And that, I think, would be extremely important as global geopolitical contestations are likely to be a reality in this area as well.
Yes, certainly as things are developing, especially technology will bring its own compulsions, and we, of course, will bear witness to that, I'm sure. Dr. Chaturvedi, thanks a lot for joining us to talk about it this evening.